Welcome back to another episode of the Authors Unite show. Today we have Alex Dorr with us. So welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course. So just as a brief rundown to our listeners, you are a mycologist and you specialize in the study of fungi. Is that right?
That's right. I'm pretty obsessed with mushrooms, and hopefully by the end of the show you will too. I tend to rub off on people.
Okay, awesome. I like passionate people, so that's great. So yeah, just kick us off and tell us a little bit of your history of before you got into mycology and what made you get into this field of study.
I always joke that mushrooms really got into me, and it feels like I'm backed into a corner and I have no choice really. And the mushrooms are at gunpoint. No, I love it, and really it comes. There's a few things which make me fall in love with mushrooms again and again, day after day. They're here in the U.S. There's not that many people talking about them, and it's not a main point of conversation for many people here in the States.
Yeah.
For other countries it is, and it is a big part of cultures, say in China or some European countries, things like that. Japan. Here in the United States, it's kind of niche, and so I like to think of it as the underdog. And it's unbelievable. They're their own kingdom. So they're separate from plants, they're separate from bacteria, and they are really the stewards of the forest and our whole ecological system, right? And we wouldn't have plants today without fungi. We share over 50% of our DNA with fungi, and they're responsible for cleaning up toxic waste to degrade trees falling in the forest. They can create new functional ingredients. They can create new alternatives to styrofoam and plastic and degrade plastic, and really solve a lot of our world's problems. And they're really humble about it, right? They're not like trees that they're growing big and tall, they're hiding under the soil. And so that's why I really like them, is that they're really humble stewards, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting without taking a lot of the credit. And to study that, we only discovered about, there's estimated 5 million species of fungi out there, and we've only described 120,000 of them. So putting that in perspective, we barely scratched the surface about them. So it's really exciting to be on the frontier of this field. And every day there's someone first in the industry, first in the field, discovering something, inventing something to do with mycology. So it's an exciting place to be.
Got it. And what do you think people don't know so much about mushrooms here in the Western civilization?
It's just not part of, here in the United States and Canada, really, it's not part of our culture very much, and if you go, say, Mexico or, some countries in Central South America, it is pretty big. Mushrooms are really big in Mexico, and they're abundant, really, really abundant. But for whatever reason, it could do with colonization here in the United States and just the wiping out of native populations, and that history could do, and witch burnings and things like that. I think that has a big part of it. But for whatever reason, we're just not that big into it. But just in the last, 5-10 years, and really the last couple of years, we're seeing a shroom boom. So really the industry is growing. It's estimated to grow at least to about $50 billion in the next couple of years.
Wow.
And people are flooding into it, especially with psilocybin, which is like magic mushrooms. There's so many people talking about that, and human clinical trials being done, because it's really promising as a solution for PTSD, for addiction, for trauma, for all these different things, cluster headaches, depression, anxiety, XYZ, the list goes on. So it is a great alternative for our pharmaceutical industry right now. And so people are flooding in like the next green rush. And, I'm seeing companies go public left and right, and pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into this. So it is really exciting, a place to be. I'm more coming at it from a functional aspect. So I focus on functional mushrooms. I'm the founder and CEO of Mushroom Revival, and we're a dietary supplement company. And so they're not psychedelic, they're not illegal, they're totally above board. And we work with mushrooms like cordyceps and reishi and lion's mane for, you know, supporting energy, cognitive function, immune system support, things like that. And that's where we come in, and we have a strong love and care for the environment as well. So we plant trees for every product we sell, and we planted over 45,000 trees. And you know, I wrote a whole book on how fungi can degrade toxic waste in the environment. And that's really, you know, a passion point for me, is that we're just another organism on this planet, right? And we're just guests. And if you look at the whole time span of the life of the Earth, right, we're the tiniest speck, right? And the way that we're living right now is very unsustainable. And if we keep it up, we're going to wipe out our species. So we need to change our habits and think of solutions for the oil spills, for the plastic, for the huge accumulation of waste on our planet before it's too late. And fungi hold some of the keys to, you know, those answers, not all of them, right? But they are promising.
Yeah, got it. And before we dive into your book, I want to, tell the viewers, or you should tell the viewers, what your degree is in, so people, they can trust what you say, because, you're speaking from actual research. So tell them about your degree and, your history with this.
Yeah, so I got my degree in mycology with a hyper focus on microremediation, so the study of how fungi can degrade and filter toxic waste in the environment.
Yeah.
And I wrote my book as my final thesis, and I didn't need to. I was just so passionate about the project that it ended up being, a 230-page book, 8 by 11. And yeah, my faculty was blown away. They were like, I would have passed you with all the rest of the stuff you did, but you went ahead and wrote a whole book. And only because I wanted to. And it started as my own, I was just doing this research out of a need. I felt like someone had to do it. And I just was seeing all this accumulation of waste in our environment. And it's like, wow, we're inching towards the end. I'm hearing, the angels harps playing, and, the light at the end of the tunnel, and we got to do something, right? And so I started writing the book only as my notes, right? I was writing so many notes, and I was like, oh, wow, I have 10 pages, I have 50 pages, I have 100 pages of notes. And it just kept going on. I might as well publish a book about it to help other people. Yeah. And so it started as a selfish reason, as me just writing my own notes. But it I self-published. I, made enough to cover the printing costs, and then now I give it out to people for free, right? Because I don't want to charge for this information. I want this information out to people for free. I want the tools in people's hands and the inspiration for them to go deeper than I did, right? And put a lot of funding into this, because I think it is huge that we can tackle, chemical pollution, we can tackle biological contamination, heavy metals in waterways and soils and XYZ. It is a huge problem that we don't think about, right? We're a very consumer-driven culture, and we love Amazon Prime, me, myself included. I love, next day shipping. That's awesome. But we don't think about the whole process of, okay, yeah, there's packaging material in the box, and yeah, there's packaging in the product, but what went into making that product in the first place? Like what went into making the plastic bubble, and the whole process from the start. And once you really think about that and look around your house and look around, if you go to the store and XYZ, it really changes your perspective on, how something costs a dollar, it doesn't really cost a dollar, right? It costs way more than that, but we're not paying for it, right? And at the end of the day, no one is paying for the pollution, and that's an issue. And I know a lot of people have raised, the idea of charging extra for very pollutive heavy items like oil, and then people wouldn't buy it because it would cost so much, right? And that is an incentive on the consumer to change, the bigger picture. So
Yeah.
that's what I focused on, is how fungi can play a role in that cleanup. But it goes farther than that, right? Because fungi can clean up toxic waste all day, but then the people who are making that waste will still make it. So we need to start from scratch. And so there's a lot of great companies like making alternatives to the waste. So alternatives to styrofoam,
Yeah.
alternatives to plastic, that are, alternatives to meat, and things like that have the same qualities, the same everything, just a little more eco-friendly. And that's as well why we plant trees, and we're all certified organic. We don't, use any non-certified organic ingredients, and that's really important for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to ask about your book, but you pretty much already answered most of my questions. But who is this book for? Is it for the general population to see? Is this like a message to the world, or is there like a specific group of people that you're targeting for this book?
When I was writing it, I thought more people would be interested,
Yeah.
and I had my horse blinders on, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is for the whole world, and everyone should care about this." And after I published it, I realized very quickly that it was just a small portion of the population that were more like mush heads.
Yeah.
So people that are already into mushrooms, that already know how to, there's a lot of heady stuff in the book, and it's not for anyone. And that's another reason why I made it for free.
Yeah.
I am in the process of writing a new book that is for everyone. And the whole premise of the book is really to inspire people to get into the world of mycology, and just to see how magical they are, right? And to see the world in a different lens of, wow, fungi, most people don't know that they consume fungi on a daily basis. If you had bread in the morning, avocado toast or a breakfast sandwich or whatever, that has yeast in it. That's a fungi, right? You're consuming that fungi. Or you had kombucha or beer at the end of the day, wine, cheese, fungi, and every breath that you're taking, you're probably inhaling dozens of mushroom spores in every breath, right? And you have a whole system of, it's called the microbiome, so similar to the microbiome of bacteria in your gut and things like that. And we're realizing that we're about 90% other organisms. So we have millions of species of bacteria interacting in our bodies. And 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut by those bacteria, and 70% of our immune system is in our gut, a lot to do with our microbiome. But we have, and we're getting this new research, a whole system of fungi in our bodies as well, and we would cease to exist without that fungi. And there's up to 70 species of fungi just living in our mouth, right? And on our skin and in our gut and things like that. So, and plants as well, 95% of plants form a really, really crucial symbiotic relationship with fungi in the soil to help them hyperaccumulate nutrients and protect against pathogens and things like that. And so plants would cease to exist without fungi. And they're, penicillin, for example, a wonder drug that has saved hundreds of millions of people's lives. That's from the penicillium mold, right?
Mm.
And so we would have hundreds of millions of people more that would have died without penicillin,
Yeah.
and other, very crucial drugs. So
Yeah.
they really are everywhere. And deserve the respect. So that's the whole premise of this new book, is to really inspire people to just appreciate them more. And something happens whenever I teach or whenever I talk about mushrooms, is I always get people texting me or emailing me or whatever afterwards saying, if they go on the walk, say they have a dog or something, they go in the woods. He said, I've been walking the same trail for 20 years and I've never seen one mushroom. And then I listened to you speak or whatever, and I saw probably 200 different types of mushrooms. There were orange, there were blue, they were like right in my face. And how did I miss them this whole entire time? And it really is. They're the underdogs. They're doing so many things in our world, and people don't realize how special they are. And so that's really the premise of this new book, and it'll be really broken down. So anyone, if you hate mushrooms, don't know a thing about them, don't even know what a mushroom is, you can read it and understand the jargon and understand it and really appreciate it and come out the other end being like, holy shit, these things are awesome. And so very friendly, very, introductory level, a lot of fun, a lot of fun facts sprinkled in. So
Okay, yeah, that's great. I feel like the whole population needs to know about this because I never knew about this, and I'm into science. I've heard about the organic materials and everything, the packaging made out of fungi, but I've never like really thought about it's everywhere, and we need it to survive, which is absolutely insane. But tell me more about the health benefits to people that fungi bring. So you do sell supplements. So what type of things can people expect from taking it? What are some problems that people have, and what can they gain from taking fungi in their diet?
yeah. Yeah, and just to break it down, I'm not talking about button mushrooms, the typical grocery store mushrooms, or portobellos or whatever. And I'm not talking about magic mushrooms, the illegal mushrooms that make you trip out and things like that. I'm talking about functional mushrooms for health and wellness. And there's, a couple more popular functional mushrooms are cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, chaga, turkey tail, things like that. Maybe people have heard it, maybe not, but this class of mushrooms, they're pretty famous for two concepts, and one is being very important for supporting your immune system, and that's why they're so popular, and why people use them is to support their immune system. And the second is that they are really potent adaptogens. And that word is kind of a buzzword right now. It's being thrown around left and right. And if people have never heard of it, adaptogens are herbs or mushrooms that help support our body's natural ability to deal with occasional stress and fatigue. We live in a very high pace world, and being bombarded from stimulus left and right, working probably jobs we don't like, and XYZ. And so we're constantly bombarded by, this occasional stress. And so anything that can help us in that, in our body's natural ability to stay flexible, right? And roll with the punches, so to speak, and not just be burnt out by the little things, and just crash and burn by all these little things piling up. And so that's incredibly important, to work with these natural plants and fungi that can help support our bodies. And so a couple, I'll just break down probably the top three most famous ones. So cordyceps that I was talking about, it's an orange looking, it almost looks like a Cheeto. It's really weird. It does not look like a typical mushroom. And in the wild, they actually grow on bugs. So, the ones we use do not grow on bugs. The way they're farmed, they're grown on rice and other grains, and then the actual mushrooms, they look like these orange Cheeto things, and we use the actual mushrooms. We don't use the rice or anything, and they're most popular for supporting energy. And so a lot of athletes use them. They've been used for thousands of years. They are really great, adaptogens, support occasional stress, but also, athletic, supporting energy. Another really famous mushroom is lion's mane, and it kind of looks like the mane of a lion if it was all white, or these kind of white icicle looking shapes. And it's also called the brain mushroom, so supporting cognitive function, memory, And it's a great study buddy. I use it right before getting to work or things like that, and it really gets me in the zone. Some people take it before sleep as well, and have accredit it to a better night's sleep. Reishi is really that sleep companion. So reishi also, common names is 10,000 year mushroom, mushroom of immortality. This is the number one mushroom in traditional Chinese herbalism, been used for thousands of years, super revered. Actually, in ancient China, there's times where it was only reserved for royalty. So if you were not part of the royal family, or friends and family, you could be beheaded for holding this mushroom, for having it. It was that revered and sacred, and it was, you can see it on emperors' staves and on robes, and it's really revered. And nowadays, it's really becoming this, super mushroom, and one of the most popular ones for supporting a sense of calm, and super adaptogen, really good on your bedside table for assisting our natural transition to a good night's sleep, and supporting our body's natural inflammatory response post workout, or like activities. So those are just three. We work with 10 at our company, and so but all of them help support your immune system. All of them are adaptogenic, so supporting our body's natural ability to deal with stress, occasional stress. And they're tonic, so they should be used every day. And we focus on tinctures, but we have like 5 new product lines coming out soon in the next 6 months or so. And tinctures are just liquid extracts, so you can drop it in your mouth, or you can drop it in a drink, and they're just really easy to take on the go. And you don't need to swallow anything like a capsule. You don't need to mix anything like a powder. And it's really bioavailable. So the benefit of a tincture is that it goes right into the bloodstream, and you can ingest it sublingually, so underneath the tongue, and it bypasses the liver, so it goes right into your bloodstream. Basically, you get the functional benefits right away, and you can absorb more of them, so more bioavailable for the body.
Got it. Interesting. That is super interesting. So this is an entrepreneur show. So tell me a little more about your history of the company, how you got started, any struggles. What was your journey, pretty much?
I never thought I would be here, and there's 3 reasons why. I mean, I went through a phase in my life where I thought I would live off grid, live out of a backpack, and just be in the wilderness, like living off the land. I didn't want a job. I didn't want anything, and I was literally like learning skills to farm and live out in the woods, like seriously. And and also, I never thought I would write a book or
Yeah.
multiple. I got a D- in English class in high school, 1 point away from failing, and literally had to beg the teacher not to fail me. And so he gave me that extra point to not fail. I failed Spanish 1 and had to take it again, and got like a really terrible grade. So terrible at language. Didn't go to business school. And so all those things combined, I never thought I would be, a founder and CEO of a startup,
Yeah.
would be talking on podcasts, would write my own books and things like that. But here I am, and it really shows you just got to be persistent, right? And it's all about mindset and a lot of other things, but mindset is really important. To the second you say I'm not good at anything, and give up, then you're fucked. And I could have said, hey, I got a D- in English. I can never write this book, but I didn't. I said, hey, if it's bad, I'll have an editor come in and fix it up. But I've gotten really good at writing books really quickly. So that whole book I wrote in 3 months. And I wrote other books that I didn't really publish, but they were 150 pages I wrote in a week.
Wow.
And, I'm really good at throwing stuff out on the page that might not be the best uh, articulated sentences, but I can definitely throw up the main ideas. And this whole business started as a passion project. I didn't go into it because I went to business school and I had a whole business plan laid out and I knew I needed to make X amount of margins and, I need to focus on these KPIs and this business structure and whatever. Did not go into it whatsoever. I just knew I liked mushrooms and I needed to pay my bills. I had to figure it out. And there's definitely times I wanted to give up. There's definitely times I was on the verge of tears and like just months of work down the drain, and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, thousands of hours just gone, yeah, there's days where, and you get really excited because you think it's going to work and then it just crashes and burns right in front of your eyes. And that's part of the startup. It's a roller coaster of nothing goes the way you want it to. And it is going to crash and burn, along the way. But it's how many times you get back up and have that positive mindset, not delusional positive mindset, but realistic, grounded, positive mindset that you don't let the little things crush you. Similar to the adaptogens, taking a lot of adaptogens help being an entrepreneur to not burn out. But it's been a journey. We've been, we just had our third birthday in March. And so we're just over 3 years. We're all e-commerce, D2C. We think that's the future. I mean, I've honestly, since day one, I've not been interested in brick and mortar. And then COVID happened and, brick and mortar kind of died a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I saw that coming. And so we've been sticking with e-com and it's been working really, really well for us. We have our own mushroom podcast. We're actually the #1 mushroom podcast in the world. And we've been doing that for like a little over 2 years, I feel like, and have a little over 100 episodes now. And we're ranked in many different countries in the top 10, which is great for, natural sciences, for science. Actually saw this morning in, I think, Lithuania, we're like the 34th top podcast, all podcasts in Lithuania for whatever reason. I don't know why Lithuania, but that was interesting to see. And it is super fun. I do it with my partner who's the co-host, and she also geeks out about mushrooms as well. And we bring on guests from all around the world to just geek out on specific topics. And we have some episodes that are really, sciencey and are more for experts, but then we go in the other end and we have episodes for very, very beginners and we break it down. So it's really a podcast for anyone interested in mushrooms, whether they're just getting into mushrooms or have been studying it for their whole life. And so that's really fun. And so we have a bunch of new products coming out soon. We are growing rapidly and currently writing a book, trying to get on as many podcasts as possible. But, I wouldn't see myself doing anything else. I couldn't be in a cubicle. I couldn't be working for Wall Street or whatever. I have to be in mushrooms. This is my bread and butter.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love that you're following your passion and you didn't, fit into the quote unquote norm. I love that you went your own way and you're following your passion. So that's amazing. So I think this is a good segue to ask you, before we end, what is the one thing that you want people to know or take away from this podcast? Your most important message.
I think the most important thing that I want people to start thinking about is that we're not separate from nature. And I hear a lot of people say or think of nature as something separate from themselves. And, especially if they live in the city, it's like, so far away and it's this separate phenomenon, right? But, we are part of nature. we're just another organism on this planet. And the faster we realize that, I think the faster, one, we'll all get along. You know, we have a lot of shit to figure out interspecies, right? You know, we have so much fighting and so much war and racism, and, you know, the list goes on forever, that, you know, we just forget we're all the same organism at the end of the day. But then, you know, going beyond that, it's like, okay, there's billions of other organisms on this planet that we need to get along with and form a symbiosis with, or else it's not saving the world, right? A lot of people say that, and like, oh, we need to plant more trees because we need to save Mother Earth, like, you know, global warming, all these concepts. Like, it's the Earth is going to be fine. You know, the Earth has dealt with so many major catastrophic events, you know, that has wiped out pretty much all species on the planet, and it's totally fine. And biodiversity has bloomed, you know, right after the fact. Human beings are going to die. So we got to be like, literally, we're going to die if we don't, you know, get together and work together, and also have symbiosis with plants, with mushrooms, with fungi, with, you know, bacteria, with the world around us, with different animals, and work on these different solutions, like, you know, myco packaging instead of styrofoam, or solutions to clean up these Superfund sites or brownfield sites or oil spills. And, you know, is there an alternative to plastic? Is there an alternative to, you know, industrial farm raised meat? You know, is there an alternative to all these different things? And is our trajectory sustainable? Right?
It's not.
It's not, right? And the science is pretty clear that it's not. You know, and so it starts today. It starts with all of us, and it can be as simple as just appreciating the natural world around us, right? And appreciating, like, hey, I'd never even thought of fungi. Most people, they think of fungi and they're like, ew, mold, or, you know, button mushrooms I found in the salad bar, or magic mushrooms that make you trip out or whatever. And they don't realize that while they're drinking a beer, they're consuming, that's literally a fungal beverage right there. Or bread is like, that's a fungal rectangle. Like, you know, and all these things, they're breathing in mushroom spores. So that's the main takeaway. I want people to appreciate mushrooms and fungi, and our symbiosis with the world around us.
Yeah, and I think you're a perfect catalyst for people to get into it. I think your passion really rubs off on other people. I'm very I'm very into it now. So thank you. But yeah, so tell us where we can find you, your podcast, the name of your book, where the people can find it, and when can we expect to see the other book come out, and your website and your socials.
Yeah. Yeah. The main kind of platform where people can find us is mushroomrevival.com. And so you can find all of our products on there. You can find, we have we're pretty active on our blog as well. So we have a bunch of recipes, Mushroom 101, you know, a bunch of great information in our blog. We have our podcasts on there. It's also on all major streaming platforms, and, you know, links to our social and things like that. But any social, we're pretty much on all social platforms at Mushroom Revival. I'm not really active on my personal social, so you can probably find it via our the brand social, but I have to force myself to post that. So, you know, but you can reach out to support any mushroom questions you have, and that's the way to find the book as well. You know, we'll give you the Google Docs to the book, or PDF. You know, we'll give it to you. You can download it. We're out of print of it. Unfortunately, we're not going to do another reprint, but we can give you the digital copy, and you could read through it, and you could look up keywords and things like that. For my new book, I'm not releasing any information yet. I'm still in conversation with a couple of publishers, and don't even have a title yet. I have a whole list of titles, but I don't have a published date yet, but it's in the works. So stay tuned and stay shroomed.
Okay. Well, I love it. I love it. So, Alex, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. It was extremely informative and really interesting. Like I said, your passion rubs off on me, and I hope it's the same for our audience as well. So, I appreciate you, and thanks for coming by.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.